morning, I'm still reporting on the coup. Last Tuesday, April 30th, we put out a story concerning President Trump's secret documents trial in Florida. This is the one that featured the infamous post-raid photo taken at Trump's Florida home, Mar-a-Lago, where 20 secret and even top-secret documents are scattered on a carpeted floor. These supposedly came from what the FBI found during the raid. The display looked staged to me. On the morning of the raid, August 8, 2022, nearly 8 months ago. Here's the first 56 seconds of our report last Tuesday. Didn't that 3 a.m. raid at Trump's home in Florida seem a little strange to you? How come CNN was there at the precise time and spot to film all the action? How come before dawn the FBI had released a color snapshot of a dozen secret documents scattered on the floor, including 4 top-secret documents? How did they find them so quickly out of the tens of thousands of documents that had been delivered to Mar-a-Lago by the GSA? Did the layout of those classified documents look a little staged to you? Well, it turns out that those classified documents were planted by Joe Biden. And no, they were not among the documents that Trump had hand-carried out of the White House on President Trump's last day in office, January 20th, 2021. But what the government was apparently trying to do was try to cover up for what they knew was a coming exposure of Biden's aid and comfort for a Chinese spy ring where Biden and family may have been selling U.S. classified documents to the Chinese. We have covered this possibility several times regarding the discovery of similar highly classified documents found in the Biden Penn Center, not in Pennsylvania, but in one of America's most prestigious addresses, the National Mall in D.C. The Penn Center was possibly used by the Bidens as a sophisticated Dropbox refuge where both the Bidens and the Chinese had keys to offices within the center and so could come and go without any sort of detection and behind closed doors exchange U.S. highly classified documents for some form of payment. Apparently, the Chinese are now paying Americans for spy work among politicians in gold bars. But what the government was apparently trying to do was cover up for what they knew was a coming exposure of Biden's aid and comfort for a Chinese spy ring where Biden and family may have been selling U.S. classified documents through the Penn Center in Washington to the Chinese. This story on Senator Bob Menendez is dated September 22nd last year, just 6 weeks after the Trump raid. Reports referred to payments in gold bars as trending among American politicians recently charged with either influence peddling, if not outright spying, for adversary nations. At least 2 other Democrat members of Congress have been slapped with similar charges in the last 18 months. If Biden is doing it, why not? This morning, Maria Bartiromo brought on Michael Waltz, a Republican member of the House Intelligence Committee. He released stunning information about the seriousness of Biden's purloined documents.
I was shocked at how highly classified these documents are. The media wants you to believe, oh, this was just some old Cold War stuff that old senile Biden maybe had in his garage from decades ago. No, it was recent. It was relevant. And I mean, they had so many code words across it. I've had a clearance for 30 years. I had to ask what they meant.
And that was Florida Congressman and House Intelligence Committee member Michael Waltz breaking news on this program last weekend with details on just how sensitive those classified documents are that were kept in President Biden's garage next to his Corvette, as well as at the Penn Biden Center. The top secret documents dated back to Biden's tenure as both a vice president and a senator, which he had no authority to personally keep. Despite the national security risks, Special Counsel Robert Hur declined to charge Biden, in part because he said he's, quote, an elderly man with a poor memory. Meanwhile, Special Counsel Jack Smith is still pursuing his classified documents case against former President Trump. In a filing on Thursday, Trump's attorneys called for the 40-count indictment to be tossed, citing her decision not to charge Biden. And former Vice President Mike Pence admitted that he kept classified documents at his Indiana home after he left the White House. The DOJ declined to charge Pence, closing the case last year. Then this bombshell, the FBI admitting to misrepresenting the documents that they claimed to have taken from Trump estate Mar-a-Lago. Joining me now with more in this Sunday Morning Futures exclusive on all of this is the former Director of National Intelligence and former prosecutor himself, John Ratcliffe. John, it's good to see you this morning. Thanks very much for being here.
Morning, Maria.
I'm going to get to the classified documents issue in a moment and this misrepresentation by the FBI. But first, give us your legal perspective of the Manhattan DA's trial right now for Donald Trump.
Well, it's been a train wreck for the prosecution. Look, every witness that they've called so far has been a witness intending to harm Donald Trump. And in fact, in every instance, they have at least in part helped Donald Trump with his case. And every witness that the state has called so far has also said that the state's most important witness, Michael Cohen, can't be believed, that he is essentially a pathological liar. So if this were a fair judge and a fair jury, the case already would have been dismissed or the case would be decided in the jurors' minds. But we don't have that because we have a judge in this case who is allowing, through his rulings, the prosecutors to pursue an impossibility. The case that they are prosecuting, Maria, is to try and show the jury that business records entries in 2017 somehow influenced the presidential election of 2016. Their whole case is premised on the idea that all of the conduct that they discuss, which is lawful, is somehow unlawful, and the judge is allowing them to do that. And of course, we know that that is, in the end, is reversible error. But in this case, we have a judge who voted for Joe Biden, donated to Joe Biden, whose daughter works for Joe Biden's vice president, Kamala Harris, and for Adam Schiff, and for the Democratic Party. And that has clearly been reflected in his rulings against President Trump throughout this trial. And that's the only danger that President Trump has in this matter, because from a legal standpoint, again, they're attempting to prove something that is absolutely legally impossible, and his conduct is absolutely lawful in every respect, and it is reversible error on any number of grounds when this case ultimately goes up, if it had to, with a verdict against the former president.
Now, you believe this is all coordinated because you point out that there were some of these DAs that were meeting with White House counsel.
Well, it absolutely is. It was systematically coordinated. Look, this lawfare campaign, Maria, is the most unlawful and unconstitutional political persecution and instance of election interference that hopefully any of us will see in our lifetime. I mean, as you know, what you have is the leading Republican presidential candidate and nominee in waiting. And the year before that election, there's not one, not two, not three, but 4 criminal indictments, all brought by Democratic prosecutors in either blue states or blue counties. So it's absolutely out of bounds. It's absolutely coordinated. But it's also, Maria, it's also failing. I mean, let's take inventory of where they are. In Georgia, the Fani Willis prosecution has all but collapsed under the weight of her own corruption.
And in fact, stories are already filtering out that the feds are about to indict Fani on real racketeering charges.
In the Jack Smith matter, you have 2 cases. In the January 6th case, he's already been shot down by the Supreme Court once and is likely to be shot down shortly on the immunity issue. And in the classified documents case that you referenced before, it's hanging by a thread, Maria, because as you pointed out, he's now had to admit under oath that in filings with the court that they tampered with evidence and misrepresented or lied to the court about that, which then leaves us with this New York case, which, really at the end of the day, the only question for the jury in this case should be who's more corrupt, the prosecutors or the judge.
So in terms of the classified documents case, I remember the infamous picture that the FBI took of all those classified documents that they said that they took from Mar-a-Lago. Specifically, tell me about what you're saying, that what evidence was tampered with, and did the FBI tamper with this?
Yeah, so that famous photograph, what we have now learned, and the government has had, Jack Smith and his prosecutors have had to admit, is that that was staged, and those top secret classified sheets that all the public saw and said, oh my God, look at those top secret documents, those were placed there by the FBI. And what Jack Smith admitted in court this week was that, in his words, they mishandled the classified documents and misrepresented those to the court. Maria, that's a kind way of saying we tampered with the evidence and then we lied to the court about it. And they got caught when President Trump's lawyers and the other co-defendants raised this issue and said, look, the documents here don't match up. The documents that were presented to us don't match the digitally scanned records of when they were taken from Mar-a-Lago. And Jack Smith, not only did they tamper with that and lie to the court about it, but he's now admitted to the court that he doesn't know how that happened. He's only offered a number of possible explanations for how that could have happened. So he's absolutely blown the chain of custody. And again, he has a prosecutor, lead prosecutor in this case, Jay Bratt, who met with White House counsel and a representative of the National Archives several times in the weeks before Jack Smith was even appointed.
Wow.
Maria, this reeks of crossfire hurricane when the Obama-Biden administration fabricated evidence before the FISA court, lied to the court about it to pursue Donald Trump, and now we're seeing it again in this classified documents case. The judge could dismiss this case at any point in time, Maria. I think the only reason that she hasn't is she wants to document this publicly so that the public can see just how this case is being prosecuted, how unfairly Donald Trump has been persecuted in this matter by Joe Biden's Department of Justice.
Let me move on, John, and ask you about the issues of the day with regard to foreign policy. There is a ultimatum on the table for Hamas. They either have to agree to give up and let these hostages free, or Netanyahu is promising to go into Rafah and take down the Hamas terrorists. Tell me how you see that unfolding, and I want to get your take on the China role here.
So at the same day that Anthony Blinken left Beijing last week, the People's Republic of China received a delegation from, yes, you guessed it, Hamas. So they are working in that region to help Hamas, and they are working in the United States through TikTok and through their assets here in the United States to foment unrest in this country.
John, one thing I want to know real quick, we got to jump, but all of these Chinese nationals that have come through the border, the open border, 25,000 just since October, on top of another 25,000 the year before. Do we have any knowledge in terms of whether or not any of them were saboteurs in these college campus unrest? I mean, we're trying to understand who's behind all of this, and also trying to understand why so many Chinese nationals have come through the wide open border on Joe Biden's watch.
Yeah, well, we wouldn't know because Joe Biden did nothing to track these Chinese nationals coming into the country. But you'd be insane not to think that of the 24,000 that have just recently come in, that they're not playing some role in what China's trying to do, which is to create chaos in this country. We know that they're doing it through TikTok. So many of the assets that they've now brought into this country that we know from our intelligence that they have are likely contributing on the ground to foment this chaos across the country on our campuses.
I'm still reporting from just outside the citadel of world freedom. Good day.